Today we're talking about Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas's pay-to-play behaviors getting more light shed on them, a court case that could possibly spark the Great Depression 2.0, doctors propping a patient up to appear alive after she tragically passed away during her visit, and more all in today's episode of The Insight Hour. What's up, guys and gals? How was your weekend? I spent mine laughing at people peeing themselves in fear. Yeah, that's where I am in life now. Anyways, Alice had something she wanted to mention in today's episode. She's pretty excited about it, so I guess take it away?
Guess who's going to set the stage on fire at the 2024 Super Bowl halftime show? It's none other than the 8-time Grammy winner, Usher. The event is set to take place on February 11th, 2024, at the Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas.
Wait, that was your big announcement? I feel like there are more important things going on, but sure, why not? Could you maybe pull up those more important things now? Please and thank you.
A recent article by Slate magazine discusses Justice Clarence Thomas's close relationship with the Koch brothers and its implications on his judicial decisions. The article reveals that Justice Thomas has been involved in fundraising events for the Koch network, which he failed to disclose, violating federal ethics laws. The article also suggests that his stance on Chevron deference, a legal principle related to administrative agencies, has shifted due to his relationship with the Kochs.
So let's talk about Justice Clarence Thomas, the Koch brothers, and some rather impressive ethical gymnastics. First off, ProPublica dropped a bombshell report detailing how Justice Clarence Thomas and the Koch brothers are basically BFFs. And not the kind of BFFs who share memes, more like the kind that share hundreds of millions of dollars and funnel them into right-wing causes. The Koch brothers even invited Thomas to speak at one of their donor events, which raked in millions of dollars. And guess what? Shockingly, Thomas didn't disclose any of this on his annual disclosure forms for, well, reasons. Now, let's talk about a little thing known as Chevron deference. For the uninitiated, this is a legal principle where courts defer to administrative agencies' interpretations of ambiguous laws. Thomas used to be a cheerleader for Chevron deference, but after sipping the Coca-Cola, he's suddenly been singing a different tune. He's now on the brink of overturning Chevron deference, which, surprise, surprise, is supported by the Koch network. Oh my god, shocker! Oh, I didn't see that coming! Basically, we're watching a rom-com where the guy's changing everything about himself for a girl. Except this isn't love. It's how we run the entire country. For example, the Koch brothers are all about deregulation, and Thomas's shift in stance aligns perfectly with their agenda. Lastly, the article suggests that Chief Justice John Roberts might be the real winner here, as Thomas and Justice Alito continue to engage in questionable activities. Justices like Amy Coney Barrett and Brett Kavanaugh might lean more towards Roberts, who at least is trying to maintain ethical standards. It's like choosing between a dumpster fire and a trash can fire. You're still dealing with the mess, but one is slightly less catastrophic. Now, one thing I feel all sides can agree on is the judiciary is supposed to be an impartial referee in the game of democracy. When two parties are throwing punches in the ring, they're the ones that step in and keep the fights clean. But what happens when the referee starts taking bribes? Or worse, what if the referee is hosting an after party with one of the teams? I mean, that's basically what we're looking at here with Justice Thomas and the Koch brothers. I mean, we're living in a time where the nation is so polarized, you'd think we were a giant magnet that got split in half. On one side, you already have the folks that are skeptical of the body, thinking it's just another arm of the, quote, deep state, or whatever boogeyman is popular this week. On the other side, you've got people who still want to believe in the integrity of the system, but scandal after scandal, they're slowly, or rapidly, losing their faith. And when a Supreme Court justice is caught in a pay-to-play scheme, it tells both sides they are right to feel the way they feel. The skeptics feel vindicated, and the believers feel betrayed. You know, like finding out Santa Claus isn't real, only he's selling elf labor cheap on the black market. And you know there's no way this stops at deregulation, right? I mean, we're talking about a justice who's making decisions on everything from reproductive rights and, well, anything and everything, really. If people start thinking decisions are influenced by who's got the deepest pockets rather than what's in the Constitution, then we're not talking about a crisis of confidence. We're talking about a full-blown existential crisis of the judiciary. And remember, this isn't just a one-off scandal. It's a symptomatically deeper issue. Imagine you go to the doctor for a cough and they tell you, well, the cough isn't the problem, it's just the problem you're seeing. It's the pneumonia that's concerning. Well, Clarence Thomas's behaviors are the cough, and the pneumonia is that our institutions are fundamentally flawed and can't be trusted. Man, that escalated so fast. But that's just my take. What do you think? Oh, and speaking of the Supreme Court making decisions on important shit,
A Supreme Court case that could potentially trigger a second Great Depression. The case is Consumer Financial Protection Bureau vs. Community Financial Services Association, set to be heard on October 3rd. The plaintiffs argue that the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, or CFPB, is unconstitutional. If the Supreme Court agrees, the entire U.S. mortgage market could seize up, leading to economic devastation.
That's right, the 9 people in robes are going to decide if we have a functioning economy or not. So, let's break down this Lego set, shall we? The plaintiffs are basically saying that the CFPD is unconstitutional because of how it's funded. They claim that this could invalidate Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and a bunch of other federal programs. Quick history lesson on the CFPD. It was created back in 2011, and its main job is to protect consumers from the big bad wolves of the financial world. Banks, credit unions, payday lenders, and really any financial institution that hits $10 billion in assets. So yeah, generally big companies are what fall under the CFPD's watchful eye. They're like the hall monitors of the financial world, just they actually have power. The agency was born out of the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act as a response to the 2008 financial crisis. You remember that one, right? When Wall Street was playing fast and loose with our money? Yeah, good times. I mean, I guess they sort of always play fast and loose with our money, but that's beside the point. Now, the CFPD has been doing some good work. They've tackled abusive debt collection practices, reformed mortgage lending, and even got nearly $12 billion back for 29 million customers. But now some folks are saying that body isn't constitutional. That's right, you need protections, so it's not constitutional. See how that works? Anyways, the plaintiffs are currently being represented by former Trump Solicitor General Noel Francisco. And if the Supreme Court agrees with him, banks will have no idea what rules to follow, and the mortgage market could completely collapse. Imagine that. A decision that could make the 2008 financial crisis look like a yard sale gone wrong. But here's the kicker. A 3-judge panel from the United States Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit actually agreed this was nonsense. Which, thank goodness, because they're basically playing Jenga with the economy and may just pull out the wrong block. As it seems, it's unlikely that the Supreme Court will sign on to this madness. But the fact that we're even talking about this is kind of concerning. So what's the argument? It's all about a provision in the Constitution that says no money shall be drawn from the Treasury, but in consequence of appropriation made by law. Basically, Congress has to approve the spending. But guess what? Congress did approve the CFPD's funding through Dodd-Frank back in 2010. So what's the beef? Francisco argues that the CFPD's funding structure is perpetual and therefore unconstitutional. But if that's the case, then we might as well say goodbye to Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid because they're all funded the same way. Which makes you think, oh, maybe that's not the only thing they're after. So basically, Francisco is saying, let's not only shoot ourselves in the foot, let's also aim for the head. In conclusion, the case is a hot mess, and it's up to the Supreme Court to clean it up, which is why we need to be able to trust these people, but they're not really giving us a reason as to why we should. So hopefully they make the correct decisions about this. Otherwise, we could be looking at economic devastation that could rival the Great Depression. So I guess we'll have to see what happens next. Will the CFPD survive this legal challenge? Or are we looking at a Game of Thrones finale for consumer protection? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure, if the CFPD goes down, it's going to be a financial free-for-all.
A 65-year-old woman died during a routine heart catheterization, and the circumstances surrounding her death are raising eyebrows. Medical records indicate she died at 1 p.m., but strangely, the death certificate states the patient passed away at 3:05 p.m.
Well, Adena Health clearly took inspiration from Weekend at Bernie's. So, the patient, who as of recording this is unnamed, walks into the hospital in good health, and sadly, she never leaves. Dr. Jared Betts, a cardiologist who's had his credentials questioned before, cut an artery during a procedure. And then another doctor, Dr. Atiq Rahman, takes over, and the patient dies during the operation. But wait, it gets worse. It turns out they propped her up to look alive for her family 2 hours after she had been declared dead. And get this, the doctors were caught watching YouTube videos on medical procedures they were unfamiliar with. I mean, if doctors are learning how to do heart surgery from a 5-minute YouTube tutorial, then why do we need med school? Now, the family has requested an independent autopsy, and Adena Health has yet to issue an official statement. So we'll keep our eyes on the situation and let you know any updates. In the meantime, have any of you had a horrible experience at the hospital? Or been lied to by a doctor? Let us know in the comments. I'm interested in hearing.
A recent report by Project Baltimore reveals that 40% of Baltimore City high schools had 0 students scoring proficient in math on the state exam. Jason Rodriguez, deputy director of a Baltimore-based nonprofit, calls it educational homicide.
Wait. So you're telling me that in the city of Baltimore, where they received $1.6 billion in taxpayer money and an additional $799 million in COVID relief, not a single student out of 13 high schools could pass a math test? Mind you, these aren't just any schools. We're talking about some of Baltimore's most well-known high schools, like Patterson High School, Frederick Douglass, and Reginald F. Lewis. Now, it's being said that this isn't a funding issue, it's actually an accountability issue, and I couldn't agree more. We've been throwing money at this problem like it's a wishing well, and what do we get? Now, the school board won't even comment on this. They're like that friend who borrows money from you and then ghosts you. But hey, they did release a statement saying that they appreciate the funding. So, thanks? So, what's the solution? I don't know. How do we hold them accountable? And not just the schools, but possibly the student body? But we'll get back to that in a second. You know, they used to say money can't buy you happiness. Well, those bastards have never seen inflation this fucking crazy. Well, apparently, it can't buy you math proficiency either. I mean, we're talking about $1.6 billion in taxpayer money. On top of another $800 million in COVID relief, has a lot of money. I mean, we are talking about $1.6 billion plus the $800 million in COVID relief. That's over $2 billion they've thrown at this. So if dollars were the solution, I feel like we would have made a little progress. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for funding education. But funding without a plan is like giving a teenager a credit card and saying, "Go wild, kiddo!" We all know how that ends. Badly. Very badly. Throwing money at a problem without a clear plan is like putting out a fire with dollar bills. It's not only ineffective, it's counterproductive. You end up burning the resources and the problem just gets worse. At bare minimum, we should have oversight, right? You know, someone who's checking to see if the money is actually going towards improving education. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like it's going into a black hole. Now, let's put our thinking caps on for a second. I mean, 0 students proficient in math? 0? That's like no one in a bakery knowing how to make bread. I mean, it's so bad, it's impressive. You'd think by law of averages, someone would have accidentally got a passing grade, right? So this begs the question, is it really just the school system's fault? Or is there something else at play here? Now, I'm not trying to jump to conclusions, but when you see numbers like this, you've got to wonder, are we looking at a systematic issue that goes beyond the classroom? Is it the environment? Is it the community? Like, what is it? Maybe it is time to look at the bigger picture. Maybe it's not just about throwing money at the schools, but investing into the communities themselves, providing more resources, and creating an environment where education is valued. Because let's not forget, kids are resourceful as hell. I mean, we've heard stories about kids teaching themselves calculus from YouTube or coding their own apps. I mean, have you seen Roblox? These kids build games inside that game. It's super impressive, guys. So the fact that not a single student passed, like, it's not just a red flag, like it's a whole parade of them. So before we start pointing fingers and calling for heads to roll, maybe let's take a step and look at the whole chessboard. Because right now, it really feels like we're just moving pawns around, while kings and queens are laughing their way to the bank somehow. I don't know how, but somebody's profiting off of this, and it's not us. Well, I feel like that's enough making your day miserable for now. And let me know what your thoughts on any of today's topics are. So until next time, stay safe, stay weird, and I will see you on Wednesday.